Hello everyone. 1975, I think that was the last time there were clashes between Indian and Chinese soldiers on the line of actual control that ended in the death of Indian soldiers. Now, that's changed last night. We all know what's been happening in the Galwan Valley, and now clashes that have resulted in the deaths of Indian soldiers and an Indian officer, and reportedly casualties on the Chinese side as well. I have to say that ever since the coronavirus pandemic has been engulfing the world, a pandemic that was partly sparked off by China's cover-up of the initial virus as it spread in China, and China made no steps to really prevent it from going to other parts of the world. Since then, China has done very little other than take an aggressive line with just about everybody who comes into contact with it, threatening the people of Hong Kong, threatening Taiwan, threatening Australia, threatening other nations in the South China Sea, concentration camps in Xinjiang. Could go on and on. But of course, when it comes to us in India, there's been particular concern about the intrusions that we've seen in Ladakh. And yes, there's been some talk about a possible de-escalation and talks to have a de-escalation over the last couple of weeks. But unfortunately, all of that eventually did end in violence, not with guns or mortars or artillery fire, mercifully, but Indian soldiers have died. And I think questions are going to continue to be asked, not just in India, but around the world. What is it that China thinks it is trying to do? And how is the world going to deal with a clearly aggressive China, which is determined to try and impose its will on a world that is already struggling with a pandemic? But before I go any further, let's just quickly bring you up to date with all the news of the day and the really disturbing events that have happened in Galwan, and our thoughts with the families and the loved ones of those who were killed.
In a massive escalation in the 5-week border row, an Indian Army officer and 2 soldiers were killed during a violent confrontation with Chinese troops in Galwan Valley in eastern Ladakh on Monday night. The army said there were casualties on the Chinese side as well. Reports said there was no firing between the two sides, and the army in a statement said during the de-escalation process underway in the Galwan Valley, a violent face-off took place with casualties. The incident comes days after Indian Army Chief General M.M. Naravane said both sides have begun disengaging from Galwan Valley. It is the first incident involving casualty of Indian soldiers in a violent clash with the Chinese army after 1975, when 4 Indian soldiers were killed in an ambush in Tulungla in Arunachal Pradesh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been briefed about the escalation with Chinese troops at the line of actual control in Ladakh. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has also reviewed the situation at a meeting with Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat, and the 3 service chiefs. Major generals of India and China are in talks currently to defuse the situation. Political parties across the spectrum have condemned the escalation between Indian and Chinese troops along the line of actual control in Ladakh. Congress spokesperson Randeep Singh Surjewala called the clash shocking and unbelievable. The Aam Aadmi Party in a tweet said that the sacrifice of Indian soldiers must not go in vain. Former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah called China shameless for blaming India for the attacks. AIMIM leader Asaduddin Owaisi said the government should release a statement. In another tweet, he said it was horrible that without any firing, our brave soldiers were beaten to death. RJD Rajya Sabha MP Manoj Kumar Jha appealed to the Prime Minister to call for an all-party meeting, saying that since 1962, there had not been such a disturbingly chilling news. After an Indian Army officer and 2 soldiers were killed at the Galwan Valley in Ladakh, China has called on India not to take unilateral actions or stir up trouble, media reports said. The comment was made by China's foreign ministry. Chinese officials also accused India of trespassing onto its territory and attacking its soldiers. Reports also said there was firing, but violent clashes between soldiers on both sides. Interacting with chief ministers of 21 states and union territories, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday expressed grief over deaths due to the coronavirus pandemic in India, while adding that India's death toll was one of the lowest in the world. In his address to chief ministers at the meeting, PM Modi said, "When India's fight against COVID-19 will be analysed in future, this time will be remembered for how the states and centre worked together and served as an example of cooperative federalism." A day after he was admitted to Rajiv Gandhi Super Speciality Hospital in the national capital after experiencing high-grade fever and a sudden drop in oxygen levels, Delhi Health Minister Satyendra Jain has tested negative for the novel coronavirus on Tuesday. Last week, Arvind Kejriwal had gone into self-isolation at his home after he had a bout of fever and complained of a sore throat. Kejriwal had also tested negative for COVID-19. Delhi has the third highest number of infections in India with 42,829 COVID-19 cases and 1,400 deaths so far. The Supreme Court has issued notices to the Centre and the Insurance Regulatory Development Authority on a plea alleging violation of provisions of the mental health law that provide for inclusion of mental illnesses under insurance policies. Petitioner and advocate G.K. Bansal said that despite there being a law about it, insurance companies don't provide cover for mental illness, and he also blamed the IRDA for failing to regulate these agencies. He said that IRDA's bias and reluctance to take action is causing a lot of hardships for people suffering from mental health issues. The Supreme Court on Tuesday said the COVID-19 situation in the country is getting only worse and it is not getting any better. A bench headed by Justice Rohintha Nariman and comprising Justices Naveen Sinha and B.R. Gavai observed that the COVID-19 situation in the country is worsening. The remarks were made by the bench while dealing with a matter relating to the parole of a businessman, Jagjit Singh Chahal, from Punjab, who was accused in a drug case. The novel coronavirus has killed over 4.35 lakh people worldwide since it emerged in China's Wuhan last December. According to the Johns Hopkins University tracker, there are more than 80 lakh cases globally, with the United States worst hit, followed by Brazil, Russia, and India. About 38 lakh people worldwide have been cured. Countries such as New Zealand, who had declared itself COVID-free, have also reported active cases.